Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host. मैं आपका दोस्त Muqtedar Khan हूँ. Today I'm going to talk about a very controversial issue, the Uniform Civil Code proposal by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. मैं आज आपके सामने एक बहुत ही controversial subject के बारे में बात करने वाला हूँ. So सब्र से सुनिए, listen patiently, because I have several things to say about the Uniform Civil Code idea. इसमें मैं बेसिकली 8 पॉइंट्स 8 बिंदियां आपको प्रेजेंट करूंगा यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के ऊपर. दोनों अंग्रेजी और इंग्लिश में बात करने की कोशिश करूंगा ताकि जितने ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा भारतवासी मुझे सुन सके, समझ सके, वो बेहतर होगा. आई एम नॉट रियली trying to win your vote or your support. I just want to put forward what my views are with regarding the Uniform Civil Code and what it means. I see no heroes in this political issue. I don't see the Prime Minister and his party as doing something great for India. And I also do not think that those who are resisting Uniform Civil Code are doing anything great for the country or even for their community. And I will talk about it. I think that everybody who is making the Uniform Civil Code a political issue for political gains and other gains are indeed doing grave harm to the solidarity, the social order, and the national interest of India. So the points that I want to make is that before I get to the 8 points, I also want to say that the Law Commission, the 21st Law Commission, has already reviewed this and said that this was neither desirable nor really feasible at this moment. And so basically the 21st Law Commission rejected the idea of implementing Uniform Civil Code, yet the 22nd, the Law Commission is now considering it, and the Prime Minister has promised that there will be a bill presented to the parliament, and given the majority of Bharatiya Janata Party, you can expect that whatever form the bill comes in, it will probably pass. Probably there will be no debate about it at all. So we are going to see some kind of a Uniform Civil Code coming out very soon. I do, however, want to make the point that yes, in principle, I think it is a good idea. I support the idea of Uniform Civil Code. All citizens who are living in one country and follow one constitution should have equal access to the law and should be treated equally under the law. You cannot be treated equally under the law if there are different laws for different citizens. In principle, that is a great idea, but in practice, there are lots of problems and issues with that, which I will try to highlight as we go forward. I also want to make a point that that it is important to make sure that I'm convinced that this is an election issue, and it is very important that Indian Muslims in particular, Indian Muslims are not the only ones who will be impacted by the Uniform Civil Code. The tribal communities of especially northeastern India, the Punjabi and the Sikh community, and even the Hindu community will be affected by this. But I hope and pray that the Indian Muslim community, who are often misguided by their leaders, who have no foresight and are usually very thoughtless on most issues. So you can see how they have handled these issues in the past, whether it was Triple Talaq or Babri Masjid, and you can see that they did not serve the interests of the community at all. So I hope that Indian Muslims do not fall prey to this bait and do something stupid, riot, or kill somebody like they did with Kanhaiya Lal in Rajasthan. So I just hope and pray that Muslims remain calm and remain smart in this issue, regardless of what their leaders do. Do not give the Bharatiya Janata Party an excuse to say, look, this is why we want Uniform Civil Code. Look at these Muslims, these barbarians, see how they are behaving. And please don't give that excuse, because then you have lost the elections in 2024 entirely to Bharatiya Janata Party. So those things are a bit important. So number one point that I want to make is that this is bad politics. both the Bharatiya Janata Party and RSS is using this to essentially divide the society. There is two kinds of divisions that the Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to impose, one between Muslim and Hindu. So in that, they hope that by polarizing the communities, they can crystallize the Hindu vote and then win the elections again in 2024. It is not as if they don't do it regularly. They did this in Karnataka too, and I will point that out a little later to you as to what they did in Karnataka. So that is one thing, and I think that Muslim leaders also, instead of misrepresenting what the Muslim personal law is and also exaggerating what its impact is going to be on the Muslim community, I hope that they will also not indulge in bad politics. So overall, I think that the Uniform Civil Code is an opportunity for all people to indulge in bad politics. I hope very few people exploit this opportunity. It's not going to be good for the country. The second point that I want to make is that for decades, the Bharatiya Janata Party and its ideological mothership, the RSS, have been aspiring to create a Hindu Rashtra. They want to create a Hindu Rashtra. They want to convert the secular democratic India into a Hindu Rashtra with Hindu ethos and Hindu heritage. And you saw the entire ceremony out of the blue about the Sengol ceremony while basically inaugurating the new parliament. Apparently, they're now inventing traditions or borrowing traditions from here and there in the past to try to project the Hindu identity of India. So it is ironic that the Bharatiya Janata Party and the RSS are trying to use secularism as a guiding principle to promote the Uniform Civil Code. Apparently, they're not interested in secularism in any other aspect of life, but when it comes to promoting the Uniform Civil Code, it is essentially a secular idea which wants to privatize religion, eliminate religion from the legal codes, and remove religion from the public sphere. And so this secularizing idea is suddenly adopted. So it needs to be looked at suspiciously. इतने सालों से भारतीय जनता पार्टी और आरएसएस ने कोशिश की कि भारत को एक हिंदू राष्ट्र में तब्दील कर दे. जो सेंगोल की सेरेमनी हुई, देखें आप, उससे भी उसका मकसद ही ये था कि ये सिग्नल करे कि ये एक हिंदू राष्ट्र है और जितनी कोशिशें हो सकती है कि हिंदू आइडेंटिटी को प्रोजेक्ट करे उसका पूरा इस्तेमाल करती है बीजेपी और आरएसएस. और ये पहली बार है जब वो कोई एक सेक्युलर लॉ को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं. हालांकि पिछले कई डेकेड से वो कह रहे हैं कि सेक्युलरिज्म इंडिया में सूडो सेक्युलरिज्म है और ये सारे वैल्यूज सेक्युलर जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में है वो सारे के सारे सूडो सेक्युलर है और गैर इंडियन ट्रेडिशन के खिलाफ है. लेकिन आज अचानक वो फिर सेक्युलरिज्म प्रमोट कर रहे हैं थ्रू यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड. तो इस स्ट्रैटेजी को ज़रा सस्पिशियसली देखा जाए कि इसका मकसद क्या है. इसका मकसद बेसिकली डिवाइड एंड रूल है, इंडिया को हिंदू और मुस्लिम में बांटें ताकि एक हिंदू वोट बैंक भी उसी तरह से मजबूती से बने जितना वो चाहते हैं. जो तीसरा पॉइंट ये है कि जो लोग यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड को प्रमोट करते हैं वो कहते हैं कि हमें एक मुल्क है, एक कंट्री है, एक फैमिली है, उसका एक लॉ होना चाहिए. वन लॉ फॉर वन कंट्री. यू कैन नॉट हैव मेनी डिफरेंट लॉज फॉर डिफरेंट कंट्रीज. ये बड़ी ताज्जुब की बात है. बहुत लोगों ने मुझे आके ट्विटर पे भी ये कहा है और मेरे जो है सो फेसबुक चैनल कॉन्वर्सेशंस के नीचे भी काफ़ी लोग कहते हैं कि हाउ कैन यू हैव टू लॉज इन द सेम कंट्री. मेरे भाई, इंडिया इज ए फेडरल स्टेट जिसमें there are many law making bodies. ये इंडिया का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है. There are as many assemblies as there are states in the country, and then there is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So the center is also authorized to make laws on some issues. Only the center can make laws. Then there is the states which are also allowed to make laws, and they can make laws on some issues where the center cannot make laws. You can read the constitution and figure out what these distinctions are. And then there are shared areas where both the state as well as the center can make laws. If you truly believe in one law for one country, then you need to get rid of all the of all the assemblies in all the different states. How can you have one law in Bengal and one law in Karnataka? As long as there are legislative assemblies in Bengal and Karnataka, you will have different laws. Look at the reservation issues. Some states have reservations for some communities, some states do not. There are different laws in India. So this is a rubbish idea. This is a foolish idea. Only people who are entirely and completely ignorant of the Indian Constitution and India's architecture, the political architecture of India, will seriously listen to this claim made by the Prime Minister of India as to how can we have two laws for or more laws in one country, one law. That is not possible in a federal state, the way the Indian Constitution is. If you really want one law, अगर आपको एक लॉ चाहिए एक मुल्क के लिए, तो इतने जो लॉ बनाने की बॉडीज हैं, लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली सारे स्टेट्स में, उन सबको खत्म कर दे, हर एक चीज को यूनियन टेरिटरी बना दे, गवर्नर के चीफ मिनिस्टर्स को बर्खास्त कर दें, गवर्नर्स बना दे, एंड सिर्फ लोकसभा में लॉज बने ताकि सारे मुल्कों के लिए एक ही लॉ हो. आपको पता है कि ये जो इंडिया में इतना प्रोटेक्शन हो रहा है काउ का, विजिलेंट्स जाके मार दे रहे हैं लोगों को शक के बेसिस पर भी, तो पूरे कंट्री में बीफ को लेकर देख लें आप कितने मुख्तलिफ लॉज हैं. सो ऑलरेडी इंडिया हैज मेनी डिफरेंट लॉज ऑन मेनी डिफरेंट इश्यूज अक्रॉस द कंट्री. तो यूसीसी को प्रमोट करना ये कहकर कि एक कंट्री के लिए एक लॉ, इंतहाई सुपरफिशियल और अजीब सी बात है एक्चुअली. एज टू व्हाई दे थिंक दिस इज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग आर्ग्यूमेंट, मुझे नहीं समझ में आती. आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हेन यू हैव मेनी बॉडीज that make laws in a country which is a federalist, you cannot have one law for one country. You will have different laws in different parts of this country. If you really want one law, abolish all the states, make them all union territories, and then only have Lok Sabha that makes the laws, and then you govern them across the country. Try that and see what happens. Number 4, the discourse is portraying as if all Hindus are for uniform civil code and only Muslims are opposed to it. So it's not about the content of the uniform civil code. It's that the idea is that this is a progressive idea. We're taking India forward, and look, only Muslims are standing in our way. This is the narrative. In fact, whether the law passes or not, whether India becomes a country with a uniform civil code or not, the fact that Hindus or a majority people in the country are seeing in Muslims as opposed to this progressive thing, they will vote basically for the party that promises to reduce the religious privileges of Muslims by getting rid of the Muslim personal laws that are there at the moment. But let me tell you that by now most people should know. See, everything that I'm saying here, except one or two things, especially when it comes to Muslim personal law, the things that I will say are probably things that you have not heard before and might be an original contribution from me. But most of the stuff that I'm saying in this are stuff that already has been said, is being said by many different people. Not all of these points are being made, but if you take all the voices on it, you will find that most of the stuff that I'm saying is already being said out there. So, for example, there is something called the Hindu United United Family, HUF. It's the joint family law, which is basically gives an opportunity to Hindu families to evade taxes. So they create something called an entity called HUF, Hindu United Family, and then they get away with a lot of tax evasion. So when Uniform Civil Code is implemented, will Hindu United Family tax evasion opportunity, will that be eliminated? Will HUF go away? We don't know. The Prime Minister should tell us this, that we are going to get rid of only Muslims' personal laws. We will keep the Hindu personal laws in its place. And then we'll see what the country has to say. But if he comes out and says, no, we're going to get rid of everything, including the Hindu United Family Law, then we'll see what even Hindus have to say about that. So that is one thing. The other thing is that in 2012, the 1909 Anand Marriage Act, which was a law passed for Sikhs to allow them to get married according to Sikh rituals and Sikh values. But when India became independent, Sikhs were subsumed under the Hindu personal law and Hindu identity. But in 2012, there was an amendment to the bill, and the Sikhs got the Sikh Marriage Act or Anand Marriage Amendment Act, whatever you want to call it, in 2012. They just got, about 11 years ago, their own marriage personal law. Is that going to remain in place, or will even the Anand Marriage Act will go away? So will Narendra Modi now campaign in Punjab, promising the citizens of Punjab that the Anand Marriage Act will be removed? Or he's going to find some way of conveying to people, nahi bhai, aapka to rahega, sirf Musalmanon ka jayega. Is that what going to happen? It's interesting. There is no discussion at all. And of course, you can trust the mainstream media to obfuscate rather than clarify, demonize Muslims and Islam rather than actually discuss what is on the issue. So it's YouTube channels like this where you have an opportunity to look at things in greater depth. So please don't forget to subscribe to Khanversations and share this video, even if you don't like it. I think most of you are not going to like most of the things that I am going to say, but think about it. It is important for a democracy to have all views on the table before decisions are made. So there are tribal groups in Northeastern. Will all their religious traditions disappear now once the Uniform Civil Code is implemented? Are we going to tell them that, look, your religious and your tribal traditional identities and all of those will disappear once the Uniform Civil Code comes into force? So those things are not being discussed at all. We're just talking about the Muslim personal law. So I think that is an important point. ये बात कहना ज़रूरी है कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड का असर ना सिर्फ मुसलमानों पर होगा, जिनके मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉज बेसिकली ख़त्म हो जाएंगे, बट इसका असर हिंदुओं पर भी होगा. हिंदू जॉइंट फैमिली लॉ जिससे वो टैक्स से फ़ायदे उठाते हैं वो भी ख़त्म हो जाएगा. क्या सिखों का आनंद मैरिज एक्ट जिसके बेसिस पे वो सिखों की तरह शादी कर सकते हैं, क्या वो भी ख़त्म हो जाएगा? और जो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जो ट्राइबल रिलीजन्स है, क्या उनके भी आइडेंटिटीज़ और उनका भी मजहबी तरीक़ेकार निकाल दिया जाएगा? तो ये डिस्कशंस होने चाहिए. जो बातें मैं कह रहा हूँ कोई नई नहीं है. कई लोगों ने ये बातें पहले भी कह चुकी हैं. सिर्फ एक दो बातें हैं जो मैं मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ को लेकर कहूँगा, शायद वो आप पहली बार सुन रहे होंगे. तो ज़रूर कॉन्वर्सेशंस को सब्सक्राइब करें और इस वीडियो को ख़ास तौर पर लोगों के साथ शेयर करें, वेदर यू लाइक इट और नॉट. जो पांचवी चीज़ ये है जो मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि रिलीजन is still the go-to aspect for BJP's campaign. There is so much talk about India, the hottest economy in the world. India is now the place. I've done so many videos talking about the growing stature of India in world politics. India's growing economy is now the fifth biggest economy in the world. So there are lots of achievements that India has to show. But BJP is so insecure about its own achievements that once again, every time the election comes, they go to communal politics. In Karnataka, they started by trying to ban the hijab and polarize the community. They tried to decertify halal food. They took away, they talk a lot about Pasmanda Muslims and how they have suffered, but they took away the 4% reservations which were there in the state of Karnataka for backward class Muslims. And there was also a lot of talk about love jihad and all of this. Even the prime minister, while campaigning, was using dog whistles, which basically was trying to portray Muslims as a problem. So even though there are so great achievements, the Bharatiya Janata Party and Prime Minister Modi, instead of talking about their achievements and trying to win an election just based on that, they are trying to once again use religion, and UCC is going to be in the forefront of it. Take my word, the 2024 election is going to be about whatever the Bharatiya Janata Party's achievements are. They're not going to talk about that. They're going to talk about, number one, that look, we have built the Ram Mandir, which would be inaugurated as close to the election date as possible. So Ram Mandir ban gayi. That would be number one achievement. Number two will be UCC. Number three will be Mathura and the other temples issues in UP. And number four will be the issue of Pasmanda Muslims. So it's going to be all communal politics in this election too. It's a shame that the BJP is not confident of its governing achievements, that it will have to play the communal card. It's already started. The Prime Minister came back from the United States to India, and the first thing he does is, in his campaign mode, brings up Uniform Civil Code. But I also want to point out that this has been going on for a while now in India, and I think it is time that communalism is punished, and I hope the voters will not reward parties that use communal politics. So मुझे लगता है कि there's another point I wanted to make, that even the RSS recently published an article in which they said the Modi magic is not enough to win elections. They were pointing out the necessity for having, I think, important regional leaders also in the context of the defeat in Karnataka. But what is interesting is, what is Modi magic? Is it achievement of governance, governing achievements, economy, infrastructure? Or is it communal politics, building temple, the Ram Mandir, having rituals like the Sangol and those kind of things, Uniform Civil Code, etc. So what is Modi magic? Whatever it is, RSS thinks that it is not enough. It's not going to be enough to win the next election. I'm not saying this, RSS is saying this. The पांच ही मुद्दा जो मैं आपके सामने रखना चाह रहा हूँ कि ऐसा लग रहा है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को अपने ही अचीवमेंट पे भरोसा नहीं है। वो उस बेसिस पे इलेक्शन लड़ना नहीं चाहते कि हमने ये अचीव किया, देखो इंडिया की इकोनॉमी इतना ग्रो हो रही है, बर्तानिया से बड़ी हो गई है, हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देखें, हमारे यूनिकॉर्न्स को देखें, अमेरिका को देखें, हमारे पीछे पीछे पड़ा हुआ है, जहाँ जहाँ मैं जाती हूँ वहीं चले आते हो। जो बाइडन इंडिया का पीछे पीछे करते हुए, इंडिया हैज बिकम द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड, इन सारी चीज़ों को लेकर वो उन्हें भरोसा नहीं है कि उसके बेसिस पे वो इलेक्शन जीत सकते हैं, इसलिए फिर मजहब को बीच में लेकर आ रहे हैं। और याद रखें 2024 में ये 4 मुद्दे आर गोइंग टू बी अप फ्रंट, हर बीजेपी लीडर इसी पे लड़ेगा ऐसा लगता है मुझे। यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड, जिसमें ये कहा जाएगा कि सिर्फ मुसलमान इसके खिलाफ है और ये मुसलमानों पर ही असर करेगा। सो इट विल बी यूज्ड लाइक ए, अगर आपको मुसलमानों को थप्पड़ लगाना है या मुसलमानों को अपनी जगह बताना है तो यूसीसी को सपोर्ट करें और हमको इस पर वोट दें। दूसरी, वो राम मंदिर बनने का अचीवमेंट रहेगा कि हमने इतनी ज़बरदस्त मंदिर बना दी मस्जिद तोड़कर। दूसरा, तीसरा, जो दूसरे मथुरा वगैरह के मंदिर के इश्यूज हैं वो भी सामने आने लगेंगे फोरफ्रंट पर। और चौथा इशू विल बी पसमानदा मुसलमानों को लेकर कि मुसलमान में भी कास्ट सिस्टम है, और इससे शायद इवन आई वोंट बी सरप्राइज कि वो प्रॉमिस करे नेशनल लेवल पे कि पसमानदा मुस्लिम को शायद रिजर्वेशंस दे दें ताकि वो बेसिकली डिफरेंट वोट, वो बीजेपी को वोट डालने के लिए कोशिश करें। तो बेसिकली रिलीजन पूरी तरह से फुल्ली एम्प्लॉयड होगा इलेक्शन के लिए। जो छठी पॉइंट है, ये मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ और मुसलमानों का रवैया टूवर्ड्स मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ, मैं बिल्कुल इसके खिलाफ हूँ। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, ये कहना कि मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ इस्लामिक शरीयत है, ये इस्लाम के खिलाफ है। मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बहुत ही एक छोटा सा हिस्सा है। अगर इस्लामिक लॉ इतना बड़ा है तो एक छोटा धागे की तरह है मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ। वो सिर्फ शादी का तरीका, तलाक का तरीका, मेंटेनेंस, डिवोर्स, इनहेरिटेंस, बस इन 3-4 चीज़ों के ऊपर है। बाकी के सारे चीज़ें जो इस्लामिक शरीयत के अंदर आते हैं वो उसके बाहर है। बट पता नहीं मुसलमानों को इससे इतनी क्यों अहमियत है, इतना इंपॉर्टेंस देते हैं कि वो बिल्कुल हिमाकती की पॉलिटिक्स करते हैं। जब ट्रिपल तलाक को डिफेंड कर रहे थे, इट इज़ नॉट एन इस्लामिक थिंग टू डू, लेकिन उसको फिर भी डिफेंड कर रहे थे। उनका कहना है कि गवर्नमेंट इसमें, अगर हम गवर्नमेंट को इजाज़त दे दें कि वो मजहबी मामलात में दखल दें तो हमारी रिलीजियस फ्रीडम खत्म हो जाएगा। भाई, दे वन द केस, दे पास द लॉ, तो क्या खत्म हो गई आपकी रिलीजियस फ्रीडम इंडिया में? क्या रिलीजियस फ्रीडम सिर्फ तलाक करने पे? दैट इज द ओनली वे टू मेजर। एक मेरे साथ आप एक्सपेरिमेंट करें, जाइए किसी इस्लामिक स्कॉलर के पास, मुल्ला वल्ला के पास ना जाइए, ऐसे मस्जिद में जो कपड़े पहनकर दाढ़ी छोड़कर इमाम बन जाते हैं या थोड़ी बहुत कुरान रट के वो अपने आप को इस्लामिक लीडर, जो पढ़ा लिखा है, देवबंद से फारिग हो या किसी नदरतुल उलमा से ग्रेजुएट हो, ऐसे इस्लामिक स्कॉलर के पास जाएं, गो टू एन इस्लामिक स्कॉलर एंड डू दिस थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट। टेल हिम that I want to convert to Islam, but There are a few things I cannot give up. So, inshallah, when I become Muslim, I will pray 5 times. I will fast in Ramadan. I will give zakat and charity. I will even go to Hajj, etc. But I'll adhere to all the 5 principles of Islam. But I cannot give up alcohol and I cannot give up bacon. I like bacon a lot. And I've been drinking for the past 10, 15 years. So I like my beer. So I'm not going to give up beer and bacon. That is, I will not stop eating pigs and I will not stop drinking alcohol, but I will be fully. Guess what the Imam is going to tell you? He said, no, you cannot do that. You have to submit to Islam. Islam is not a buffet that you can pick this and that. You have to accept the whole table. You have to accept it. They will even cite a verse from the Quran, 208 verse from Surah Al-Baqarah, which said, "Udkhulu fis silmi kafatan." Even though it says enter peace without any reservations, they will translate it to say that enter Islam with no reservations at all. You have to accept it fully, all together. So they will tell you that it is un-Islamic to pick and choose which aspects of Islam you want to follow. वो आपसे साफ कहेंगे कि आप इस्लाम को कबूल करना चाहते तो पूरा कबूल करना पड़ सकता। आप ये ना कह सकते कि मैं हर चीज़ करूँगी लेकिन बुरखा नहीं पहनूंगी, हिजाब नहीं पहनूंगी, या मैं सिर्फ शराब ज़रूर पीऊंगी या जुआ ज़रूर खेलूंगी लेकिन बाकी दूसरे इस्लाम की चीज़ें ऑब्जर्व करूंगी। They will tell you you have to accept the whole thing of Islam, otherwise you're out of the religion. तो जहाँ पे मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ का सवाल है, मुसलमानों ने ये नहीं डिमांड किया कि हमारी पूरी शरीयत इंप्लीमेंट करें, हुदूद लॉज लगाएं कि जब कोई मुसलमान चोरी करता है तो उसके हाथ काट दें, जो नॉन मुस्लिम चोरी करता है तो उसके साथ जैसा चाहिए आप डील करें लिबरल लॉज के साथ, उसको जेल में डाल दें ताकि वो कॉलेज की डिग्री हासिल कर सकता है पढ़ के जेल में, अलबत्ता मुसलमान का हाथ काट दें। दे आर नॉट मेकिंग दिस डिमांड, वो भी तो शरिया लॉ है। So Muslims want just one part of the Sharia law, not the rest of the Sharia law. This is un-Islamic. This is un-Islamic. जब कोई भी इस्लामिक स्कॉलर आपको कहता है कि मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ जो अंग्रेजों ने 1937 में पास किया था बिल, वो इस्लामिक शरिया है, वो झूठ बोल रहे हैं। They're misguiding you. That is not Sharia. That is a law that was defined by the British in 1937 for various political and vested interests. Muslim Personal Law Board जैसे इदारे उसको शरीयत कहते हैं। हमारे साथ 1500 साल से हम शरीयत पे चल रहे हैं। Really, no, that is not Islamic law. Islamic law is a very big thing. That is just one. There are 3 or 4 issues which are part of that Muslim personal law. So as far as Muslims are concerned, they are propagating a lie to their community. And if they do it very vehemently, they are going to cause problems for the community further because some idiot might do something really stupid. And there are lots of idiots in the Muslim community. We know, we have seen some evidence during the Nupur Sharma case. So it's very important for Muslims to realize, and everybody else in the country, that Muslim personal laws are not Islamic Sharia. They're just a very tiny, minuscule thing. And the second thing is that in their letter, the Muslim Personal Law Board said this: we would lose our identity if we lose this. I find it really despicable that the Muslim Personal Law Board thinks Islamic identity is just about marrying 4 people and divorcing just like that. This is Muslim identity, just for inheritance, maintenance, marriage, and divorce. Nothing else is the source of Muslim identity. I find it really shocking that they think. I live as a Muslim in America. I practice Islam. I read, I teach Islam. I give Friday sermons. I've written books on Islam. There is no Muslim personal law in the United States. Doesn't mean that I've lost my Islamic identity. I am a Muslim. Alhamdulillah, I practice, I live like a Muslim. So I don't need a Muslim personal law on board to be a Muslim. My identity is not anchored in that. My identity is anchored in my beliefs and my practice. So ये कहना कि Muslim personal law को अगर निकाल दिए तो Muslim identity खत्म हो जाएंगी, ये बेकार सी बात है, बहुत ही बेकार सी बात है. In fact, it is very important. If Indian Muslim leaders had shown maturity, they would have started a conversation on reforms long ago. Many Muslim countries have reformed these very laws that are called Muslim personal laws in India, especially with regards to polygamy. Muslims need to have a serious discussion of Islamic reforms. And that is something that they are not doing there. Rather than that, they are making it sacred and fossilized. to a community, there are only 3 or 4% people in the community go to college. So that community is just believing people because they are just religious. And I think that Muslim religious community is doing a disservice to the community. They failed in their leadership on the Babri Masjid issue. They failed on the triple talaq issue. They are failing again now. It is a tragedy that everywhere in the Muslim world, one of the problems we have is awful leadership, both among the ulama as well as in the political sphere. So I think it is important for Muslims who are better informed and can engage, really demand that Muslims look internally and start looking at the issues of Islamic, of the reform of Muslim personal law. It is important that we have a conversation. Those principles, those laws that are articulated in 1937 are genuinely patriarchal in nature, and they're not good for women who live in the modern era. This is really something which we have to understand. According to some studies, in many parts of India, the Muslim woman is the main breadwinner. When I saw some of that data, I was very shocked that Muslim women are the main breadwinner, and these loser husbands of theirs have been given so much authority for what I don't understand. So it is very important that we look at the reality of Indian Muslims today before we try to undermine. If I was a Muslim woman in India, I would definitely reject these Muslim personal law without hesitation. And I don't care what some mullah is going to tell me. Muslim women should educate themselves, become financially independent. They probably already are, since majority of them are the breadwinners in their families. So they should not take this nonsense. And if Muslim leaders do not offer you a pathway, then go vote for BJP. Narendra Modi is the most important Islamic reformer. At least he got rid of the triple talaq. So that is something I think Muslim women need to think about it. Are their husbands, their fathers, their brothers really protecting them or their own privileges in the name of Islam? So this is an important thing. We really need to have a serious conversation about Muslim leadership in India. The 7th point that I want to make is, I don't think that the government is sincere in its approach for this uniform civil code. If they were sincere, then they would do 2 things. Number 1, they would have called for reforms within the community. And like Narendra Modi could have done this in 2019. As soon as he won the election, he could have said that we are thinking of implementing uniform civil code, but I'm going to give you 2 years, 3 years of time for communities within the Sikh community, within the tribal community, within the Muslim community, within the Hindu community, to reconsider these Muslim personal law laws and try to reform and make these rules and regulations more equitable, more just from a gender perspective, especially, and also try to see if they are necessary and are core elements of your identity, as Muslim Personal Law Board says. So they should have done that first. The second thing that they should have done is proposed a uniform civil code so we can see what there is. What is going to replace this? We know what is there, but we don't know what is going to be replaced. We don't know what Narendra Modi means when he says uniform civil code. A lot of Muslim leaders are telling their community that what Modi is going to do is replace Islamic and Muslim rules and laws with Hindu rules and laws. So what Narendra Modi says is uniform civil code is Hindu laws. So basically saying this is a way in which the BJP and RSS are going to impose Hindu laws on Muslims. A doctor in Chicago told me something so profoundly stupid that I was stunned. He says, "Bhai nikah ki jagah hum phere lenge kya?" He wanted to know whether elimination of Muslim personal law would mean that Muslims will also have to walk around the fire to get married instead of having a nikah. But then I also realized that when he asked me the question, I thought it was a very stupid question. I still think it is a stupid question, but I could not answer that question because I don't know what Modi is proposing. What is the uniform civil code out there? How is it going to look? Is it going to look like that in the United States? Why don't you propose it? And let me tell you, the proposal of a uniform civil code Of course, if it is removing HUF, the Hindu United Family Law, if it is removing the Anand Marriage Act, etc., then BJP is going to have lots of people voting against it. So that's probably one reason why they're not proposing the law. But if the law definitely looks as if it's going to give equality within communities, between communities too, and I can tell you that a lot of people will like it and might even support it. So I think if the Bharatiya Janata Party, if Narendra Modi is serious about a uniform civil code, tell us what it is before the election. Don't say, I'm going to bring the uniform civil code. Tell us, this is what I'm going to bring. This is my vision of a uniform civil code. And in the absence of a proposed uniform civil code that you and I can talk about, I'm going to assume that this is not a sincere effort. It is just a political gambit to polarize societies. Finally, the eighth point. What is interesting is that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes to the United States, goes abroad, he talks about Gandhi, Gandhi, Gandhi. Gandhi, the purveyor of truth, the purveyor of nonviolence. When he comes home, it's always Savarkar, Savarkar, Savarkar. So there's a different Modi at home and a different Modi abroad. When he's abroad, he talks about the DNA of democracy, and nobody is going to be discriminated against, etc. But when he comes home, it's a different story. I don't know how long India can sustain these two identities, authoritarian and intolerant at home, and talking about democracy and universal values outside. So this will be a big, big issue, the attempt to impose an undefined uniform civil code on the rest of the country. And let me tell you, there will be a lot of interest in the international media. I know people say they don't care about international opinion or international media, but I can tell you if a small newspaper, a college newspaper here in Delaware were to publish saying, oh, Modi is very important, I guarantee you it will be national news. They're not going to say this is a college newspaper, only 20 people read this, but it'll be national news for several days. Oh, this paper in America said Modi is a great leader. And then if a major American newspaper like New York Times criticizes India on its human rights situation or religious freedom, then they'll say, oh, we don't care about international opinion. That's not going to last for too long. India cannot pretend to be democratic and secular overseas and then be intolerant and treat minorities at home, because ultimately it will begin to impact. If there is violence, God forbid, as a result of this uniform civil code, like there is violence in Manipur, do you think that any foreign company is now going to invest in Manipur, seeing what is happening there? Try to shift the chip factory to Manipur and see what happens. Micron will run. So that's what is happening. If you turn the whole country into a Manipur, then it is going to have an impact. India is at a very important juncture in its history. It can become a major power in the world. It already is a major economy in the world. India should not commit self-goals at home and undermine its domestic realities and domestic order in pursuit of some ideological, cultural, or religious agenda. So I think that is my 8th point. These are my views on the Uniform Civil Code. In principle, it's a good thing, but what is it? I would like to see the idea that everyone lives under equal law, has equal protection under the law, has equal access to the law. It has the same law. It doesn't discriminate based on religion or ethnicity or sexual practice or race. Perfect. I love it. That's what a liberal democracy is all about. But we need to know what the law is. And so I hope that these issues that I have pointed out will give food for thought. I know a lot of you are just simply going to react and abuse me and all of that, but that's fine. But I hope that there are at least a few of you think about it, share the video with other people and engage with them. Talk about the points that I raised. And I hope that by the time comes, the Indian population and the Indian communities act in a very responsible, deliberative, thoughtful, rational way in dealing with this issue. It is part of the Indian Constitution. It is an aspirational aspect of the Indian Constitution. So we cannot afford to neglect it, no matter who brings it up for what political reasons. The Uniform Civil Code issue is a very important issue for India, and I hope that whatever turn it takes, It's peaceful and does not divide the country much. So I request you all to please subscribe to Khanversations, like the video. Don't forget to share it with all of you, and Jai Hind.